Morning, everybody. Welcome to Lockpod Season 10, Episode 18. Why is the music still playing?
That's because Kevin.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Oh, my.
Welcome to Season 10, Episode 18 of
Amateur
Lockpod.
hour.
Brought to you by Kuklakis Law.
What about Midwest?
Most dangerous podcast. I don't know. You
I don't
threw
know.
me
You
off.
keep missing that.
You threw me off
Two
with
in a
this
row.
stupid music.
Kevin, this is on you, bro.
It is. I'm sorry.
It's still going.
Oh,
We
so
got
it's,
me.
Then it's Dad's iPad.
Okay. Oh.
Wow.
Oh. I want to replay that.
Oh, you know what? That's my phone. That's my phone.
Kyle's going to clip that.
Oh.
Yeah, look at that.
You know what? I
Go ahead,
hereby-
Lindsay. Say it. Go
I
ahead.
apologize,
Thank
Kevin.
you. I accept your apology.
Usually it's you.
It was
Okay.
Kevin.
But today-
and me. It was
Not-
both
it
of
was
us.
No, it was not me at all because
All
I
right.
checked my volume. It was the
I'm
locomotive.
sure,
everybody.
I'm sure everybody's super interested in our hijinks in the studio.
Well,
That's
they
why
were-
they watch.
They were when it was me, but now apparently they're not.
Yeah.
I was going to say, like, during the intro song, I felt like I saw Kevin do his volume.
Yes,
he always
'cause
does
I-
his volume
I do.
thing.
I did
That's
it.
because that was an
I did
issue in our earlier
Agree,
seasons.
and I've learned, Linz. I'm a good learner.
Sometimes he still does it, though.
Learned.
All right, Season 10, Episode 18, brought to you by Kuklakis Law. Are you currently navigating complex legal challenges, unsure of where to turn for guidance? Your search ends here with Kuklakis Law, your trusted partner for legal solutions in Indiana and in Illinois. No matter the nature of your legal issue, Kuklakis Law is ready to help. Call Kuklakis Law today at 219-671-6347. That's 219-671-6347. Kuklakis Law, today's title sponsor. Episode sponsor.
Just a reminder to everybody out there, if you're in Indiana or several other states that are voting today, vote.
There are a lot of states voting today.
Mm-hmm.
Where we are in Indiana, it's Municipal Day. So
Municipal
Yeah, there's
cities
no
and
Yeah.
towns.
I don't have anything major going on in Griffith right now.
That means that Griffith, which is a Republican town, probably has nothing but
Never
Republicans.
used to be.
Nobody's
don't
nobody's
understand that.
contested. There
It
are no
makes no
signs
sense.
out, no nothing.
It
Griffith's
makes
a
no sense
blue-collar
why
town.
it is a blue-collar town. It makes no sense why Griffith. I think, all due respect to the party, it's a failure of the local party and a failure of good candidates. Because I think if I ran in Griffith, I'd win.
When you were elected in 03, Griffith was
Please don't run in my city.
Breaking.
maybe another McDermott Parasco
I
should
think a
run
candidate
in your,
like
your
I
town.
think a candidate
No.
like me in Griffith would do well.
My last name is too long to run.
A blue collar
do it.
candidate would do well in
I think
Griffith.
Lindsay should run.
No.
Honestly, because when you look at the Griffith Republicans, they're like very blue collar moderates.
Yeah.
I mean they're not. Well, although Rick is pretty Trumpy, but
Yeah, I like Rick.
I do too. I like him too. We have a good relationship, but I don't really consider them like outlandishly Republican.
No.
I think that they're moderate, like right of center.
Yeah, I think moderate Democrats would do well.
Right, I agree.
Griffith.
But like what happens is everybody, what the rumors become reality, so to speak, because everybody's like, oh yeah, Griffith's a Republican town, and then Democrats are like, I'm not running here.
Yeah, it's like,
Right.
how about let's do some work, let's get down to it and get it done.
I don't understand why Munster is Republican either. We just let it happen. It's just like,
Well, I mean, actually, Munster's more Democrat now than it has been. There's two.
I'll tell you
it's
what, you wouldn't
3-2
know
when
that
you took
driving down
over.
Ridge Road.
Agree. I mean, the signs. We'll see.
I
if
agree
the
with
signs,
you.
Yeah, I mean,
Democrat, and let's hope it continues that way. But when I drive down Ridge Road, I feel like the local Democratic Party, no, all due respect to, I'm not talking county, I'm talking local Democrats. Like, where are you in Munster? Munster's a wealthy town. There's a lot of people with dough, and you can't see one damn sign for a Democrat in Ridge Road. It's like Republicanville.
there's a lot of signs, and we'll see what happens.
But signs mean
votes.
organization and money.
Sure.
That's what it means to me. Is like there's
Republicans are
organization,
very organized in Munster.
organization and money. Signs aren't cheap, and they're everywhere. So, like, that means there's tons of money in the Munster Republican Party. There's tons of organization, and I don't see that with the Democrats. And, like, there's a lot of blame to go all around.
I think for 20-plus years, Republicans have done very well in Munster, and they probably got a nice little kitty going. I would say this. I did see the Democratic chair at Munster Donut at 5 a.m. ready to roll out the donuts to the
Nice.
precincts.
Right.
So we had that going.
What I'm saying is, though, is like, I think that we see these little, like we're talking about Griffith, we're talking about Munster. I'm even going to throw Highland out there where we're at it. I don't see it. I don't understand why. I think I could run in those communities and do well. Me in my politics currently, even though I'm a Democrat, if I was able to relocate magically and knock on doors and people had an open mind, I think I would do a good job. But for some reason, they're considered Republican now, and it is what it is. I have my own problems.
Dyer. It's another one.
Yeah, makes
Dyer
no sense.
used to be all Democrat.
Makes no sense. Makes no sense.
Really?
Tons of,
Yeah.
I didn't
oh
know that.
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Years and years.
yeah. But it makes no sense. I mean, it's like a lot of union people living down there. Like, and union
Yeah.
people do, But
I'm telling you, it all changed when Trump was elected. It all changed.
Yeah,
And
it was changing
starting
before
that.
Huh?
Yeah, a little bit.
Obama was elected.
Sure. Go ahead. Yep.
Because I think, honestly, this is my opinion. and it may be somewhat
We've talked
controversial.
about this, yeah.
If there was any like
Watershed
Democrat that was when Obama was elected in
Mhm.
08, if there's any Democrat that had any feelings about race issues that they weren't comfortable sharing publicly, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like maybe you had a little bit of Southern, influence in you, and and you're a Democrat, but deep down inside you're not super comfortable with 2023 America. And I think
2008 America, 2010 America,
Right.
2012 America.
Right. And then what happens is you just say, I'm not really a Democrat anymore. I'm a
Mhm.
Republican now. And because it's a lot easier to say that. It's like, I don't like where the party's headed. It's easier to say that than to say, I'm not comfortable with Kamala Harris as
Yeah.
vice president. I'm not comfortable with Barack Obama as
Right.
president. It's a lot easier to say, just sort of switch parties. Because if you get into the truth of the matter and you're like, I'm just not comfortable with African Americans taking positions of power, then people
Well-
think you're a racist because you probably are a racist, right?
Yeah.
So
I'm
it's a
not
lot easier.
comfortable with them being in the Democratic Party. So.
It's a lot easier just to
Who,
say I
African
switch
Americans?
parties.
No, racist
I
people.
was like, what?
No, I know what you meant. But like that's the thing is like I've seen a lot of people do that, and I don't confront them because it's not my job. I'm not chairman anymore.
Mhm.
But it's like I saw a lot of people leave the party. I think it's for racial reasons.
I think there's definitely underlying race reasons. I mean, ever since
For
Obama
sure.
got elected, I
For
think
sure,
we've
Kevin.
seen different things happen
Yeah.
that have made us say, like, what the hell? And
Like Obama was held to a different standard when he was president. Why? Because he's black.
Yep.
That's it.
Well, I think
That's
the hope was when that happened. I think a lot of us, a lot of Americans, were like, "Oh my God, this is great! We're finally turned a corner. We're going to be able to conquer these issues." And if anything, they kind of took in my opinion, they took almost a reverse track when Trump was elected.
I agree with you.
Charlottesville. I mean,
You and I think very similarly.
Yeah,
That's
I
probably
mean,
why we work together a lot.
Yeah.
Going back to Indiana, how
Sure.
do you win? How does Obama win Indiana without winning over the white vote?
Because keep in mind, I was thinking about this yesterday. Funny enough.
Huh.
Okay, it has a lot of it, in my opinion. I was thinking about this last night, John. It's so
Great
crazy.
question.
And this
you
is
asked
not
me.
on the script.
This is
by
not
the way.
on the script.
no.
Literally thinking this, how does Obama win an 08
Yeah.
and how are we getting smoked ever since? This is my theory. I was literally thinking about this last night. It's crazy you asked this, John.
We got two items there.
Okay, I know. But like 2008, the presidential election went through Indiana.
Yes.
And millions of
Hyped
dollars.
everybody up.
Millions of dollars were spent on Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton.
Yes.
Everybody in America was focused on Indiana.
That's a great point. I didn't consider
I
that.
agree with you, right? And we never get that bump because it's always we're in the bag in May. It's a presidential nominees long ago figured out. So in 2008, Indiana was different because we had that crazy primary that everybody in the country was watching
And focused
and
on.
we got a bump out of that coming into November because everybody was in Indiana was interested in Obama and we won.
So I would say that's a great point, Tom. And also, I think it goes to something you've said in the past, which is primaries are good for the Democratic Party in
Agree
Indiana.
with you, Kevin.
And
That's why we work so well together.
And that was
I'm
something.
complimenting you today.
Thank you. And that was something. But no, I mean, I'm
best
actually
friends.
not to throw it back at you and compliment you back, but you've said that a lot to the party. I've
Yeah.
seen you've been in party
I have.
meetings and said that. And
Nobody
I think,
agrees with me though.
but well, I mean, just look at 08. I mean, there
Nobody
you go.
agrees.
That was
I
a
agree.
huge primary, and it got.
Could we expand on what Kevin's saying? Do you guys get what he's saying? He's saying instead of protecting people like myself, like I have no opponent right now. Today, election day, I have no opponent. That's not good for Democratic candidates because I got a guy, Dave Werpel, running.
Not good for turnout.
It's not good for
especially.
turnout. Dave Werpel would probably appreciate a huge turnout of Tom McDermott supporters today. Instead, I'm uncontested, which is probably a decision the Republicans made. Leave McDermott uncontested. Let's go after Werpel without McDermott's normal voters. And
We'll see what we can do.
he's a little bit more vulnerable than he would be if McDermott was running. Because if McDermott's running, all of his supporters are going to the polls and they're voting for Werpel also, right?
And people, and just this isn't to take anything away from a council race, but
No.
people pay attention to the top of the ticket to the mayor's race.
Dave
the
would
mayor's
agree with
running.
this. I know Dave
Yeah,
would agree
and
with this.
so
Vote for Dave Werpel today, by the way.
absolutely.
Vote for Dave Werpel today, 5th District.
If
That's
you
my
live in the
district.
Woodmar area or part of Hessville in Hammond, get to the polls 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. and make sure to vote for Dave Werpel.
You know, funny enough, this is also not
Speaking
on the
of
script.
somebody
I
in the
was
5th
just-
district,
Yeah, but I was just thinking about this morning too, Tom. Stuff that's not on the script. I don't think the referenduming on the ballot helps Werpel.
I don't think it hurts or helps him really.
I think it hurts.
No,
I
I think
think
it- I
the
think it
people
hurts,
that
too.
are against it are fired up and getting to
I
the
agree.
polls.
I agree with John. And,
Yeah.
but that
I-
doesn't mean they're against Werpel. I don't think.
No,
Dave's
but
come
I'm
out.
saying they're more likely to be Republican.
They're
That's-
more
that's
likely
my
to be
feeling.
OP supporters.
or conservative or fiscally.
But like, I
conservative,
think
whatever.
the school city, like now that we're here on election day,
Yeah, I wanted. To, okay.
the school city made a decision early on that they wanted to not talk about this publicly, and they haven't. They've done a good job.
Yep.
What do you
Because,
mean? I got a mailer and like a phone call.
but you got it like what, a couple days
Yeah,
ago?
yeah,
a couple
yeah.
days ago, which is smart. They didn't start this months ago. They didn't like like it's a good strategy. Their strategy is lay low, have everybody that, the school city, Hammond has tons of parents that totally support the school city, and like quietly have them show up on election day and vote yes on the referendum, and then try to keep it totally quiet so that the public doesn't get fired up about it. So that was the strategy, obviously. Let's see if it pays off.
There's a group behind there's like a no
It's a bunch of
landlords.
It's a bunch of landlords.
Oh, really?
Out of town landlords.
I got
Yeah.
a door hanger.
Yep.
Yeah, and they send their kids to schools with all the amenities that Hammond schools want to
Are
offer.
trying to get through the referendum.
Right? And they're like, no, not for you, but for us down here in Cherville.
I was talking to somebody yesterday who is a physical therapist in the school city, and she helps with disabled kids. And she said her job's for sure on the chopping block if they don't pass the referendum.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, and I think it's so short-sighted. I think if you live in an urban area and there's a referendum, it's so short-sighted to not vote for the schools.
I voted yes twice.
I did too.
Because I want Hammond. I don't even have kids that in school anymore. My kids are all grown. So like I voted for my home value. I want my home to be worth more. And if you're laying off teachers and shutting down schools, my home's not going to be worth as much.
That's right.
If we have great teachers that want to stay in the school city of Hammond, it's going to make my home more valuable. I hope people understand that, because I blocked somebody the other day, Kevin, in the spirit of our last show.
Are we getting into this now?
Yeah,
Okay.
I roll out of the last show, and then I see this asshole, like this guy that could really use the referendum, quite frankly, in my opinion. He's one of my friends. He's posting nonsense about the referendum on there. And it's like filled with grammatical mistakes and spelling errors.
Sure.
And I'm like, if there's anybody in Hammond that could use a little bit of education right now, it's you, buddy, right? And this freaking moron is wearing like travel baseball stuff in his picture. He's like railing, and then at the same time he's railing against, I don't want to pay an extra $100 a year on my house. He's wearing a shirt that says, I spend $3,000 a year on my kid to play baseball. And your kid's not going to be a pro. I've never seen him play. I'm just going to break it to you, buddy. Your kid's never going pro. He's probably never going to play college ball. If he's
not
lucky.
D1.
Yeah, if he's lucky, he'll play high school ball. Okay, so you're spending thousands of dollars every year focusing your kid on something.
A dream.
Yeah, that's not going to happen for him. And at the same time, he goes to school every day in a school that could use more amenities.
And keep the teachers that they have, and make sure the class size is low.
Right. And you could spend an extra $100 a year making sure your kid's education is great, but you'd rather rail against this and spend all your money on baseball.
There you go.
Which in my world means he's a fucking idiot. Okay? And I blocked him.
I think
I don't want these guys following me.
in the spirit of last show and in the spirit of the Supreme Court argument today.
Yeah.
So there you
So
go.
I blocked him. Straight up. Front page news.
Here's another thing.
Mayor blocks constituent.
over
like,
travel
not-
baseball
this
versus
is my-
referendum.
This is my personal Facebook page, the one with Tom McDermott, with my mom,
With Lindsay.
and my beautiful daughter Lindsay, who's always posting lovely
Damn.
messages to her father on. I didn't want her to see
posted
this.
on Facebook in like a month and a half.
I didn't want you to see this, babe. If you wanted
God.
to,
Yeah, God
back
forbid.
up your dad. Back up your dad.
God forbid I
Back
see
up your
somebody
dad.
say something negative about my dad on the internet.
Right.
But here's
I blocked him,
the
though.
other thing I saw
I
about the
risked
school referendum.
U.S. Supreme Court.
I think you did the right thing.
And you know
I think
what?
you're going to win that argument.
I
I
agree.
would like to say I'm the one who runs the official Facebook, me and John, and I see a lot of
Yeah, it's true.
terrible stuff.
The one thing I want to say, if I could, about the referendum, one more thing that I saw people complain about, which I thought was total bullshit, was the superintendent's salary.
Yeah.
I was like, really? So what we want to do?
I want the
Let's
lowest
hire
paid-
let's hire a shithead.
Yeah.
That would be.
Give me the
like,
lowest paid.
Give me the uneducated superintendent.
Right.
Make sure we're below market
Right.
on that.
No
Fucking
Because an
experience.
urban school district doesn't need a good superintendent.
Right. We have a great superintendent. Scott Miller's, and unfortunately, you get these people that really need more education that have no clue what the fuck they're talking about. They haven't really stepped foot outside of our city. All due respect to him. But, like, we have a guy that's worldly, smart, educated, cares about our students.
Cares about the kids.
Fucking moved to Hammond after he got this job.
Yes.
Sold his house in Cherville, bought a house in Hammond, moved his whole family here. Like, what more do you want? You idiots. And
Yeah.
you're attacking this guy because he makes a competitive salary.
Exactly. He doesn't make like some like
No.
out of range salary
It's so
for his
stupid.
job.
When you say this to me, in my head, I can't say it because I'm the mayor. But in my head, I'm like, this guy's a fucking idiot.
Yeah.
If you're saying this to me, it's like you're holding back Hammond.
I wanna
People
know-
like you, with short-sighted thinkers that spend thousands of dollars a year on travel baseball, but you don't want to spend an extra $100 to make your schools better.
Right.
These are the
or
people.
fix your roof.
These are the people that are loudest on Facebook, loudest on social media, but they're holding our city back.
They're probably like, and I don't, again, like, probably not educated. I hate to say that. They're probably not They probably haven't traveled the world. They haven't been outside of the city.
They need education.
And it's like, this is the kind of people that should be voting for the referendum.
You're spending an extra. Your house is worth 100 plus.
Probably a lot of them are renters.
Right. You're going to spend.
They're not even paying property tax.
You're literally going to spend an extra $100 a year, and your schools and your teachers are going to be better compensated. And you're like arguing at the same time. You're like, little Johnny's going to be a pro baseball player. Yeah. Freaking little Johnny's not going to be a pro baseball player, buddy. I don't care how good he is right now. He's not. It's almost impossible. It's like saying little Johnny's going to hit the lotto.
And stop being so selfish. Think about the community you live in. Think about helping your community.
Right.
It's not just always about you and your tax bill.
I voted twice. Yes.
I think it's if I had to guess their position, I think it's more like the timing. Every conceivable thing costs more right now.
But John,
and you're faced with another referendum.
You have employees like teachers. You think they don't have these same pressures that you have?
Or school cities that have to run their budget?
Right.
Yeah, I get it, but I'm just saying the timing, in my opinion, couldn't be worse.
But the timing is part of the reason they have to do this.
Gas is cheaper,
but I mean, that's the other side of it.
John, you work for city, John.
Yeah.
You work for government, right? That'd be like saying, you're like, hey, mayor, I'm not making enough money. I need a pay raise. And I'm like, John, you're coming up to me in a period of high inflation. We can't afford to pay you more money. It's like chicken or the egg, right?
Right.
The part of the reason you need a pay raise is because inflation is so high. And then if I throw it back to you, part of the reason I can't give you a pay raise is because inflation is too high.
And by the way, the city has to pay for all kinds of things that it now has to pay more for.
Well, what would happen in that case is John's going to quit.
Yeah.
And then John's going to go work for another government that pays him more money, like Crown Point or Sherrville. And then all of our talent is going to end up down there, like is happening in the schools.
But as mayor, you have a choice, and you say, you know what? I need to make sure we keep our talent like John because I want him working at the city, so I'm going to give him a pay raise.
Like in the schools. Our teachers, our best teachers are leaving and going to districts that pass these referendums.
Like me.
Right. So, but like if you have a district like Munster or Sherrville, or these guys are passing referendums and the teachers are making more money, and in Hammond we're like, nope, because our landlords told me not to. I'm saying no, right? They're like, okay, what's a teacher to do? Stay here and make $40,000 a year, or go down to Crown Point and make $50,000 a year? It's not that difficult. What are they going to do? Then Hammond's going to be left with the teachers that can't get jobs other places.
That's right.
Okay?
And that's where you're going to recruit from.
Right.
That pool.
And then these same people, this gay, same a-hole that's sending his kid to travel baseball is like, our schools suck. 2 years from now, our schools are horrible. They don't even bus our kids. Well, part of the reason they don't, asshole, is because you voted against a referendum to keep them employed.
And John, I guess to kind of answer you more specifically, what I would say is it takes a critical thinker to kind of work through the issue that you brought up, right? Like, yeah, it's bad timing. I agree it's not great timing. But you got to think, okay, well, this is not just this year. It is going to stay in place and help support our schools for years to come. And that's important to me.
Yeah, but it's not there's two referendums on the ballot.
Correct.
Yes. I think that was a mistake.
Okay, it's
Personally.
not. Yes, I agree.
The operating is for the teachers, right?
Yeah.
John?
Right. And now you're talking about what, and this is the other part I was going to mention until you guys just got so amped up you cut me off, was the other part of this is not just the bad timing, but the questions people have when they see what the language is.
And the language is set by statute, which sucks.
Okay,
Yeah,
but
it
I'm
does.
saying you're looking at a referendum now. People are going, wait, you want money, $84 million over 25 years?
John, are you asking, do you think it's going to pass? I'm going to tell you I don't think it's going to pass. Do I think it should pass? Yes, I absolutely think it should pass. I think it's discriminatory. I think it's discriminatory in a way, expecting cities like Hammond, Gary, and East Chicago to pass these referendums because, quite frankly, they need it the worst.
And yet the legislature said the only way we're going to let schools pass or get more money is to pass a referendum now.
Right.
And
So
put it in front of
sometimes-
the voters.
Sometimes communities don't know what's best for them. And I brought this example up the other day on the show. I don't know. I was on a show. No, I was on WJLB. I'm sorry. And I said, I know things about the
accept your
sanitary. Yeah, I know things about the sanitary district that the general public doesn't know. So if we have to do a $100 million improvement to our sanitary district, I'm privy to knowledge that other people don't have. I know better than them. So I come out and I say, we're going to do a $100 million project in the sanitary district. And John, I'm going to have people in the public that are saying, we don't need that. That's too much. You could do it for $18 million. There's going to be ridiculous people that have no clue what the fuck they're talking about are going to be telling experts, and I'm not calling myself an expert, people that know more than them, they know better. Well, and that's part of the problem.
Think about if you had to say the sanitary rate charge to pay for this EPA mandated consent decree has to go to a referendum. Think about that, Tom.
Yeah.
If you had, think about
it would never pass.
Never pass. Okay, here's another example that's come up recently. just dedicated the marina to your dad.
Right.
Think about if that decision had to go to the public.
Well, I mean,
It would never happen.
If we had to go to the public to make decisions, things would never pass.
And you know what? The ballot box to say, we don't want Mayor Tom as our mayor anymore. That's the
Or how about this? Mayor Tom wants to get a raise. Go to referendum. Oh, sorry, Mayor, you can't get a raise. So what happens? After a few years, the mayor's like, later, I'm going to go get a raise on my own.
I'm worth more in the market.
Right. It's like you want good people in place. You got to take care of them. And that includes teachers. And that includes students in buildings. You have to have nice buildings to attract students. You have to have good scores. But it all works.
They just built a beautiful building.
I agree, John.
Yes.
This is what I'm saying.
And
do one referendum. People don't want to see, like, you just built, they're wondering, you just built a school.
They used to not have
school. What do you need?
They used to not have referendums.
And John, but Morton, the other high school needs it, and that's what the capital budget's for, to fix Morton.
Yeah,
I mean, not to get too in the weeds,
I just don't think it's going to pass, unfortunately. But I hope it does. I went on the radio yesterday to support it, but I just think it's unfair that schools have to beg for money constantly.
I do too.
It's crazy
I do
to
too.
me. It's
and
crazy to me.
It's a new setup over the
Could
last,
you imagine
10
if
years?
I had to beg for money to run the government? Like, voters, can you please vote yes so I can pay the street department this year? Mm-hmm. Can you imagine? No, we don't need the street department. The weather's great.
John, the new buildings that have been built, notwithstanding, I don't want to get too in the weeds though, but I just want to remind John of this. John, like all the new elementary schools in Hammond, those were done without a referendum.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right? So like that would have never passed if it would have been on the ballot.
Agree.
So, yeah. Anyway.
All right. Should we do some ads, y'all?
No, we have we did have a lot of shit.
It's almost 8 a.m.
Well, it's election day.
John got us off on a...
No, it's election day. It's good that we talked about this.
That's not John's fault. That's you guys. We were talking about
I said like 30 seconds of stuff. They just like...
We were talking about Obama and why Indiana voted Democrat, and then we
okay, well, let's move on.
Took a left turn.
We can move on.
We got
I wanted to talk about some more.
By the way, man, big weekend for sports.
Yeah.
Like, I know this isn't sports talk, but big weekend. Notre Dame season is ruined, which is great. So I have plenty of free time now. The Bears still suck. They're 2-7. They had a backup quarterback that people were getting excited about, and now
four turnovers, 3 interceptions, or whatever it was.
So we're 2-7. Notre Dame's football season's over.
I was at IU tailgating, and IU won their first Big Ten game in a year and a half.
Against
Wisconsin.
That's a good win, too.
Yeah.
It's a good W.
It was fun.
Right. And then, I don't know, Lindsay, did you catch this yesterday? The reason I'm asking is because you're not a sports fan. I want to see how...
We were watching boat racing yesterday.
I want to ask you if you heard anything about this.
Sunday.
Did you hear anything about David Ross, Linz?
Do you know who David Ross is? That's the better question.
I'm assuming he's some sort of sports guy.
Yeah, okay. You haven't heard anything about him? Because it was brutal what happened to him yesterday.
No.
Okay. I'm assuming you didn't. Cubs. He's the Cubs manager for the last 3 seasons.
Oh, I saw some people were posting about.
Say it.
They were saying something that like he was a weak coach.
All right. Let's go.
Wait, no, that was.
No,
Dad's
that's all right.
post.
All right. You don't know what we're talking about, so obviously. So.
I don't know.
Right.
I thought he was football. I was leaning towards football, but baseball is still going on, apparently.
All right.
I love it, Lynn.
I was just trying to see if it penetrated. It obviously did not. Okay.
Did not.
And she still has a better betting record than
Phil Talon.
Right. But Cubs fired.
Point, John.
You knew about this, right, John?
Yeah.
Cubs fired David Ross yesterday.
Didn't you make a sassy post about this yesterday?
Yeah, maybe. I don't know.
I think it was about Notre Dame.
Oh, it was a sassy post about Notre Dame.
But
so
David
pissed.
Ross got fired yesterday after 3 seasons, and I think just about every baseball analyst was calling him safe. Nobody expected David Ross to get fired, and then they hired their arch rivals in their division, the Brewers manager.
Yeah, I think the one thing I would say about that story is that in today's world, there are so few stories that don't leak out early or leak out or sneak out, or there's word about this or there's rumblings about that.
You always hear about it. If
this was like, it caught everybody by surprise.
Like
when the Cubs dropped that press release, that was the first thing I had heard, and nobody broke the story.
Chase texted me, and I'm like, I'm like, come on, Chase, that's not true. Yep. And I'm like, get out of here. Yep. And he's like, this is what I heard. I'm serious. And I'm like, get out of here.
It did not get broken by like some off, ESPN or anything like that. It got broken by the Cubs.
So like, I think this is not baseball talk, okay? But the thing is, it's a good story for a couple of reasons. Because I think a lot of people picture the Cubs franchise as like Just like the lovable losers, just like nice guys. Cubs for a long time would always have really attractive players. They weren't necessarily good baseball players, but they were really good looking people.
I don't remember that.
Oh, I do. They stick with baseball players because they're good looking and just bullshit like that.
I never heard that theory.
Dude, you're fucking high. Like I'm talking.
I'm
for
fucking
like,
high. That you're saying that the Cubs have made decisions based on how they look.
Of course they did.
Over
the
years.
This
What?
is crazy talk.
All right. So anyway. So the Cubs, they don't expect the Cubs to do what they did to David Ross. And the Cubs freaking sliced his throat yesterday. They sliced his throat yesterday. They fired him after 3 seasons, and then they hire George Girardi, Craig Counsell from the Brewers, which is a huge move. I think this is a huge positive move for the Cubs. It shows they're dead serious about this season. It shows that they're willing to spend money and get the best player available.
And it shows that Craig Counsell must be worse looking than David Ross. But I think that's key.
I did not expect that to come out. Like that was just a left field thought. I just did.
So, hold on, you think like Mark Grace and stuff like that? You know, guys over the years that like were just around way longer than they should have been.
I've never thought about it.
Most
girls would love him.
Most hits in the '90s.
Oh no, I love Mark Grace. I love Mark Grace. I'm just bringing up. If you look at Cubs over the years, some Cubs that stuck for a long time, they happen to be good-looking guys. And
I think that
girls are like, "Oh, I love so and so," and you're like, "So and so sucks though." That's part of like Javi Baez.
Mark Grace never sucked.
Fucking Javi Baez sucked. We kept that guy way too long, and then he
got rid of him.
Oh,
Heartthrob.
Yeah, they got rid of him after a while, and then he went to fucking Detroit and sucked even worse.
I think that's more of a. We want to keep him around because he was on the World Series team and brought us a World Series.
Agree, and he was good-looking.
So yeah.
Chris Bryant.
Rookie of the Year, MVP.
Sucked. And then we let him go.
Yeah.
This is quite a theory.
It is a quite theory.
I mean, but he's going back before that, though.
I agree. I'm totally. You can go back. If I did some proper research on this, I could bring up quite a few examples of really good-looking Cubs. And I will look forward to this report. I'm talking like 70s and 80s. I'm not going to do the fucking report. I'll be honest with you. I was just a throwaway comment you guys seized upon. So,
but
anyway.
But the thing I think is curious about this, and I think what Tom is an important point here, is that the Cubs just made Craig Counsell the biggest, the largest managerial contract ever in baseball.
Yeah, $40 million.
So that tells you that the Cubs are going to go for players, I think.
I hope so. He's like back there.
I'm still just laughing at Kevin saying, I don't think they hired people because they were good looking, and you said you're high. Like you were so shocked.
I'm fucking high.
You were so shocked Kevin didn't agree with
No, there's a lot of reasons. I'm saying they're not like sitting in the boardroom like, we can't get rid of Joe. He's a good looking player, right? I'm not saying that's the only reason they're keeping him. But there's a lot of reasons. One of them has to do with, the girls really like him, especially back in the days.
Fan favorites.
Especially back in the days when they sucked. Fan favorites. Right. Yeah. Okay. Right. Because sometimes these fan favorites aren't necessarily good ball players. They're my favorite because, Javi Baez is so cute.
Let me ask you this question. Do you think the Cubs will go after Ohtani?
I hope so.
Ooh,
I hope so, and I don't. I would rather see the Cubs sign Bellinger and maybe get Soto.
So that's what Ethan texted me. He said the rumors are that Soto Juan Soto rumors, which I like that too.
He's an outfielder, right?
Yeah, he's solid, man. Juan Soto's solid. He would be outstanding.
Is baseball still occurring?
No. Rangers won the World Series.
Yeah, the World Series was last week.
Oh, I had no idea.
Mm-hmm. All right, let's jump in some ads and we'll come back and we'll hit the second segment. How about that? We could do a little bit of Rogers Roofing. Again, today's episode, season 10, episode 18, is brought to you by Kukakis Law. Also, Rogers Roofing. When you demand nothing but the best from your home and family, trust the industry leader, Rogers Roofing. For over 54 years, they've been transforming homes in Northwest Indiana and Chicago. Their commitment to quality shines through in their roofing, siding, gutters, and windows, all backed by the most comprehensive warranties in the business. Visit our website at rogersroofing.com or call 219-933-9145 to schedule your free consultation. That's rogersroofing.com or 933-9145. And remember, at Rogers Roofing, excellence is expected every time.
Tortillas Nuevo Leon sets the gold standard in Mexican cuisine across the Midwest. Look for their iconic red and white label at your local grocery store and indulge in the finest Mexican products crafted with local expertise and savor the taste of authenticity. Discover the flavors of Tortilla Nuevo Leon today.
Tortillas Nuevo León, hechas con amor, para ti y tu familia de todo corazón. Tortillas Nuevo León, hechas con amor, para ti y tu familia de todo corazón.
It makes Tuesdays better. Power in Indiana, Lake County. IBEW Local 697 and NECA proudly introduced Powering Indiana, Lake County. With over a century of experience, they've been safely wiring the region. From powering corporations along the lakefront to lighting up homes across the region, Powering Indiana, Lake County is your trusted source for electrical professional. Visit 697jatc.org to join us as they continue to light the way for Northwest Indiana.
Misprint Printing. Elevate your brand with Misprint, the premier printing and sign solution in Chicagoland and Northwest Indiana. With a 30-year legacy of excellence, their experienced team, led by Rick Baltonsberger, combines innovation and technology to deliver top-quality signs and printing, always on time, always within budget. Visit them at misprintusa.com to bring your vision to life today. Misprint, your partner for creating impactful visual solutions.
Thank you to our sponsors, including our episode sponsor, Kuklakis Law.
All right, we got an update. George Santos update. We talked about George Santos numerous times over our LockPod careers, and in fact, I could pull up exactly how many times if I felt so compelled.
Is our LockPod career longer than his career?
Yeah, for sure.
Oh, yeah. He was just elected in 22.
We started in 2020, yeah.
Hell yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But George Santos, first off, he's accused of many things, like
an indictment and a superseding indictment.
Numerous criminal charges, 23 federal charges accusing him of stealing his campaign donors' identities, racking up thousands of dollars in unauthorized. Yeah,
Why would he need
that?
That
Is something.
How,
Jesus,
dude?
His donors, he stole their identity.
And like
he's an asshole, man.
Charge
Let's
stuff
just be
on their
honest.
credit cards is what they're saying.
It's like a
Shut
nightmare.
up.
It's like
Yes,
a nightmare.
John.
He's making us all look bad.
Like I donated to your campaign, and all of a sudden I've got other charges for like restaurants in New York City or something.
He like charges a polo sweater, and then he's wearing a polo sweater the next day.
But just look at this.
Not guilty. He pleads not guilty to 23 federal charges accusing him of stealing his campaign donors' identities, racking up thousands of dollars in unauthorized charges on their credit cards, falsifying campaign finance reports, money laundering, and other crimes. Shit, throw murder in there for God's sakes. This guy's been charged with everything but murder. Yeah, and he's also known for
Jewish.
Yeah, the series of lies he told about his background before he was elected to Congress. Like he told people he was Jewish.
And he told people that his mom died in 9/11.
Yes.
Right. And his grandparents were in the Holocaust. And then he's confronted about it. He says, no, I'm not Jewish. I'm Jew-ish with a hyphen. Oh, my bad. I thought you were Jewish. I didn't realize you were Jew-ish.
Just kind of Jew-ish.
Ish, right? It's ridiculous.
John,
this guy's ridiculous.
That headline right there above that is great. It says, George Santos crowns himself king in tweet after surviving expulsion vote.
I was looking for the tweet. And,
so he had an expulsion vote recently in Congress. We talked about it, and I'll be honest with you.
I'm with you.
I thought for sure George Santos was no longer going to be a congressman.
Especially because it came from the Republican caucus, Republican New York caucus of other Congress people.
So all the Republican New York congressmen banded together and said, we need to get rid of this guy. So, and the Republicans, for those of you, the Republicans are in charge of the House. So, as long as their whole team sticks together, they could expel this guy. And then what would happen is...
Not many, though, because if all Democrats voted to expel...
Yeah, you're right.
Plus, like,
you're right.
5 or something, or 8?
Because the Democrats are, of course, going to vote to expel. They've already tried. Mm-hmm. So, you only need like 5 or 6 people to come over.
Yeah.
And he's out, right?
Yeah. I don't get what happened.
But it failed.
Yeah.
The House voted.
What was the total?
The motion failed. 179 to 213.
213, 179. There had to be a bunch voting present.
They had
19.
To vote, they had to get 2/3.
Oh, that's right. It was a 2/3 vote.
But they didn't even get the majority, Kevin.
Mm-hmm. So it wouldn't just be 8 votes. It would be whatever 2/3 of 435 is.
Wow.
Yeah.
Following the vote, Santos posted a picture on social media of him wearing a crown with the text, "If you come for me, you best not miss."
Oh, unbelievable.
What's he going to do now? The balls.
I was gonna say the balls. I don't know.
He's an idiot, man.
He just does not give a fuck, man.
No, I mean, he.
Have you ever seen anything like it?
I have not.
Short of Trump.
Yeah, no, you're right.
Like
he's
not
right.
in Congress.
He's right below that. Yeah, he's.
But like,
right,
first off, like, he stole the identities of people that donated money.
I want to know more facts
jackass.
about that from the
It's the
indictment.
first time I heard that.
Oh
what
yeah,
a freaking asshole, man! Like, the people are nice enough to donate money to put you in office. And not only do you, are you an asshole in general, you steal their information and unauthorized charge on their card.
Now, he does say, I stand firmly in my innocence. And I think this is interesting, and maybe this went into some people's thinking. I think there's only been 6, maybe less than that, people expelled from Congress after the Civil War and after Reconstruction. Maybe less than that, and every one of them had been convicted first. So maybe it's a signal from Congress or the House saying, like, look, we know these are grave.
What's your thoughts on that? I mean, I'll be honest. I believe in people's day in court.
I believe in the system.
We run into this issue way more than we want to.
Yep.
In the part of, and where we live, unfortunately, there was a lot of convictions and indictments, and a lot of this question comes up where somebody's in trouble and they keep on serving out time. For instance, in my friend, a person I support, the sheriff has a conviction hanging over.
He has
an
a charge, right?
A charge hanging over his head regarding reckless driving,
Sure.
basically. And he's going to court. And there's been calls for the sheriff to step down. He's ignored them.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe he should have his day in court personally. But there's like this limbo of like a year where you're waiting for him to go to trial, and everybody knows he's facing these charges. And it's uncomfortable during that time because you got basically an elected official with like question marks hanging over their head, right?
Yeah, I think as an attorney and maybe just as an American, I believe in the system, and I believe that the system, for the most part, takes care of, and I'm talking about like both the criminal and civil justice system. I think, and why you have trial by jury for both civil and criminal cases. I think it's important.
Except for Trump.
I think, well, right, but that was different. That was in New York. But yeah. So I think
he requested it.
Yes,
Yeah.
He didn't want a jury. He wanted the judge.
I wanted a bench trial.
That was
and
by
then he bitched
choice.
About it.
By
and
choice.
Then bitched about it.
Yes.
But anyway, I didn't mean to knock.
We're going to get into that in a little bit. But I think I as much as I believe George Santos is a piece of shit, and as much as I think he shouldn't be in Congress, I think two things are going to happen. Either he is going to be convicted and then expelled,
for sure,
or he is going to not be elected.
Because once he's
you have
convicted,
the ballot
he's
box.
out, right?
Well, in Indiana, that's how it operates, right? So in Indiana, there's a statute.
New York's
that says,
pretty progressive. I imagine.
I would think it's similar, right? If you get convicted, you're out. But this is a
In
federal
Indiana.
office, though.
I agree.
It doesn't attach to state office. It's state. This is a state.
So you're saying if Frank Mervan gets indicted in Indiana on some type of federal charge and convicted, and he's found guilty, he doesn't automatically lose his congressional seat?
I am not saying that at all. I think you're right.
I think because he's a congressman in Indiana, he loses his seat if he got in
That's
trouble.
right. Yeah, but
Not in Frank's
But
not in
could
trouble.
he run for
No,
Congress in
no.
Illinois?
Yeah, he might be able to because you don't have to live in the district to run.
No,
for
but I mean,
Congress.
I don't know. Once you're convicted, can you go back and run? I don't think
I
so.
don't know.
But
He'd be serving time.
Yeah.
But anyway, so basically, I think, Kevin, what you're saying is if you're a congressman faced with this issue, you would vote to keep him in there?
I think because I think it makes I think it makes I think it's a tough precedent to make. I think I would vote to let the process play out.
So if you're a
as much as I don't like Santos,
even if you're a Democrat and they told you how to vote, because obviously that's what they do.
That's hard.
They told Frank Mervan, you're voting against.
I don't know
Santos."
if all Democrats voted
They did.
against it.
I mean,
did they?
it's 213 against. That's
No, I
pretty-
know, but I'm just curious.
I think all the Democrats voted against him.
It's only 179 for
I agree.
expulsion. That's
213 against. I'm pretty sure it's all Democrats against. I looked at the numbers.
no. Yeah,
Kevin, I
213
looked at the
against.
numbers. I'm not making this up.
Against expulsion?
Wait, I
Yeah.
thought it was
And then-
179 for. I see
Right.
what you're saying. 213 against.
And it was, I think it was to a person, all Democrats
Mm.
voted. Maybe a few of them voted present, but like to a person, they all voted to get rid of him.
That's a tough vote, even though it doesn't seem like a tough vote, because it's almost like you're voting. I can't stand the guy.
Right.
I want him
but
out.
you also believe in the system.
I believe in the system, but I would, the House is so close. They said that's going to flip. So I guess if I'm thinking politics, I would vote to expel him. But if I'm thinking as a lawyer and American, I would vote to keep him.
That's a good point. What
All
does
right.
that do? What does an expulsion do for the House?
Good question. So what happens is you get sent back to your district. So if they said Santos is no longer a congressman, then basically in that district in New York, they would hold a special election. Some states do it differently.
Like
Some
Indiana.
states do it where you hold a special election. Some states do it where you temporarily appoint a congressman to serve out the rest of the term, which is usually less than a year.
Sure.
And they serve out the rest of the term as a temporary congressman until the next election is held.
And there's different rules for senators, by the way.
Depends on where you live, basically.
State
how it's
sets the rule.
approached. Because, like Kevin said, there's 50 different states, and they all have different rules for Congress. But once you're in there, you're a congressperson. But we all have different rules to get people in that position. So this next story is cool. It's sports related, but it's also related to defamation lawsuits, and I'm interested particularly in defamation lawsuits, considering I'm being sued for one right now. So this case interested me.
Yes, especially because it also involves Shannon Sharp, who has used Lockpod's theme song for his.
I didn't even put
for
that
his,
together,
yeah.
Kevin.
So this has a
And
Lockpod part of it too.
And it's got Brett Favre, who has no relation to Lockpod, but Brett Favre is a famous new NFL
Bay
quarterback
Packer.
who could be facing trouble. Like, I think it's questionable if he's got legal criminal charges facing
He's
him.
definitely a civil legal trouble. The
Right.
question is whether or not he's ever going to.
So to give you a little bit of background, I think we might have done a little bit of background.
We were
on
going
this.
to, but we never did.
Really?
Yep,
okay,
I
so
checked.
Brett Favre basically finds a loophole in Mississippi, finds a way to use money that could have been used for, that should have been used for people in poverty. Instead, he gets it redirected in Mississippi, where Brett Favre is a king. He grew up there. He was famous from Mississippi. He gets it redirected towards
His volleyball, college volleyball
his daughters,
stadium.
His daughters.
Yeah.
team.
Now I would say this. I don't know.
Well, so let's say it again, Kevin, real
Yes.
quick. Welfare funds directed towards his daughter's, college volleyball team.
building a stadium at his school where his daughter attended. Right?
So the question is that criminally illegal?
So I don't, it's interesting because I have not dove terribly deep into this, but I would say I don't think Brett Favre's position is that he directed it. He was asked whether or not, because there are some people that have been indicted on this.
Yes.
That were in the
And he is
in the
definitely-
state government.
He's definitely part of the people are looking at a whole group of people.
Yeah, there's a
affiliated
wide
with
net. The question
And
is,
he's
are they
part of
going
the
to
net.
drop it on him?
Okay,
But
so
to date, the
is he
federal
a target? Who
prosecutors have
knows?
not. He has
Right,
not got a
so-
target letter.
But people are talking about it.
Sure. I mean,
Yeah, and there was a text I remember where Brett Favre basically was texting like the president of the university saying, "Hey, nobody from the media is going to find out about this, right?" And it's really incriminating looking text. And there could have been a number of reasons, he said. He could just be like, hey, I'm not worried about criminal liability. I'm just worried about bad publicity.
Yeah.
He could have been worried about that, or he could have been like trying to hide a crime.
right.
I guess it's up to the feds
To
what he was
figure out
talking about.
the
But he literally
investigators,
said, hey, nobody's going to find out about this, right? When they're doing something that was shady as fuck. So,
Yeah, I think probably looking at, again, if you're looking at it in the best light to Brett Favre, and I'm no Brett Favre fan. I'm a Bears fan.
I like
so,
Brett Favre.
Yeah, I mean, he was a good quarterback.
I like
and
Brett
I wouldn't
Favre.
take that
I'm a
away
Bears
from
fan
him.
too.
Right. He's a really good quarterback.
He's a badass.
Hooray for the Packers. But what I would say, in looking in the best light for Brett Favre, what I would say is that he was more concerned, as you said, about the publicity of it, not about is this legal? Are these funds legal?
You're looking at it in the best light to him
him,
because
for
it could
sure.
have been easily trying to hide criminal liability.
Could have been, unless they find that the direction of those funds was so wide that it could be used for this purpose. That's
So
the big
anyway, the
question.
bad part of this is it could have also been used to relieve poverty in Mississippi, which is a major issue. And instead of relieving poverty in Mississippi, which was the intended use for these funds, it was spent on a bunch of wealthy kids' volleyball facility. So it's definitely bad PR. So this story is blowing up, and Shannon Sharp, who's a famous NFL tight end, right?
Tight end receiver? Yeah,
Okay.
tight end for sure. Is that,
But it does,
doesn't matter.
famous NFL player
Yep.
who is also a media personality, finds out about this. Shannon Sharp, not that it matters, is also African American. I'm not sure if he's got friends or family from Mississippi, but he is offended about this whole use of money that should have been used on poor people, instead going to Brett Favre's daughter's volleyball facility.
And by the way, Shannon Sharp is was known as one of the kind of the biggest talkers in the NFL, like big mouth,
so
outspoken.
as a media personality, I imagine
Sure,
he's
big
pretty
personality.
outspoken. So he gets sued for what he's about to say. So let's listen closely.
this is great.
This resulted in litigation between Brett Favre and Shannon Sharp.
Yeah, well, come on.
I mean, it's just natural. But but you got to be pretty low that you would take from the most underserved to fill your need, or so you can seem philanthropic. Really? Because you know they say, man, you see what Brett did? $5 million for a volleyball arena because his daughter played there. He didn't have to do that. He didn't do nothing. The federal government gave that money, but they're quick to talk about, black and brown people, they be stealing, and then we need to cut out some of this pork and all this. Stop it.
Yep.
The biggest criminals, the people that steal the most, look like that.
He pointed to Brett Favre when he said it. He said the biggest people, the people that steal the most, look like that, and he pointed right to Brett Favre.
Well, I think I think that there's some truth in what Shannon Sharp's saying, in the sense that, like, there are a lot of people that love to point out, quote unquote welfare moms and this and that, and they're taken. And the reality is they're, well, I don't want to get into, I don't want to necessarily get into that topic. But my point is that I think there's a lot of truth to what Shannon Sharp's saying.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of truth to it. I think that Brett Favre did take money that was intended to be used on poor people and steered it through his incredible contacts in Mississippi because he's a famous NFL quarterback, steered it to be used instead for his daughter's volleyball team. I believe it. I've read multiple, and obviously I haven't seen the facts of this case, and I believe Shannon Sharpe has every right to say what he said. And by the way, there's something called the First Amendment in America, which allows us to say things like this.
And criticize public figures who aren't, in this case, not even an elected public figure.
Right. But
A
Brett
famous
Favre is a
person.
public figure.
Sure.
And he's delving in politics when he's using public money,
And
So-
Shannon Sharpe's criticizing the use of this public money
Right.
for this purpose.
which is First Amendment all day long.
It's absolute opinion.
But
He
Brett
has the
Favre
right
is
to
not
say it.
government. We all agree Brett Favre is not government, but
No.
he's spending millions of dollars of government money that could have been used to relieve poverty and instead is going to be used to help Brett Favre's daughter.
At the volleyball arena.
Why
So,
doesn't
I mean,
Brett Favre donate $5 million, by the way? He's
That's
rich.
a great question.
He's
by the way.
wealthy.
Probably has that kind of money.
He totally
he
does, Lindsay.
just to drop.
That's a funny thing. This
Or
guy wants
raise
to
it.
be.
And then you
he's
could
like
just
the
write
Brett
it
Favre,
off.
the Brett Favre facility. They'll call it, and he's freaking steering public money.
It's crazy.
Bullshit. Shannon Sharpe's dead right.
No,
so
that probably means that he's cheap.
So Shannon Sharpe,
Or
or he
broke.
doesn't have that much money, yeah. But Shannon Sharpe gets sued by Brett Favre, and so does McAfee, that's the show he was on.
Yeah,
right?
Pat McAfee got sued separately.
Because he also said,
Something about this case.
which, by the way, Brett Favre's a public figure spending $5 million of public money and does it in text, and it was public. The text that said, hey, nobody's going to find out about this, right? You fucking shady ass. Like, of course people are going to talk about it. And then now he's like Spiros trying to sue everybody to silence him,
Yeah, I wonder if there's anti-slap in this. But I thought the courts...
But anti-slap had to do with government, though, right?
No, not necessarily.
it was.
Oh, you might be right about that. You might
Yeah.
have to be...
It's government trying
Yeah.
to squelch. So, like,
You might
there's no
be.
government involved in
Good
here.
point.
It's just straight defamation.
And the judge's opinion was great. It was, I think he said, this is a quote from the opinion, no reasonable person listening to the broadcast would think that Favre actually went into the homes of poor people and took their money, that he committed the crime of theft, larceny against any particular poor person in Mississippi. Sharpe's comments were made against the backdrop of long-standing media coverage of Favre's role in the welfare scandal and the state's lawsuit against Favre. Listeners would have recognized Sharpe's statements as rhetorical hyperbole.
Mm-hmm. Basically, so Brett Favre sues Shannon Sharpe. The case was dismissed. Brett Favre sues Pat McAfee, and Pat McAfee gets the case dismissed without a cash settlement, and McAfee had to read a statement of clarification, basically saying what Kevin just said is Brett Favre didn't break into these people's homes like a criminal.
Yeah,
He did it
I mean, he
different
had
way.
some other
He
things
did it a
said,
different
but
way.
Yeah, exactly.
He
just
did it like a white collar way.
Yes.
He didn't like rust your window and steal money, but he did it another way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. This is bad for Brett Favre. I think basically his time and money would have been better spent defending himself against his civil action, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's what he should be doing. He should be worried about his own skin.
Well, and also, like, nothing says I'm innocent and that's not what happened. Like, multiple lawsuits about defamation.
Well, I mean, I think at the right time, I think that's fine to be. I don't think filing a defamation lawsuit says I'm guilty. I think there's great appropriate times to file a defamation lawsuit, and I've represented people who have filed appropriate defamation lawsuits.
And we're successful.
And we're successful because you can't just be out there throwing somebody's name around, especially, number one, if they're not a public figure.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't do things like, you're a child molester, you're a criminal, you're a drug dealer.
Right.
I mean, you can't do that to
Like
people.
in social media's early days, people would straight up like call public, other private individuals drug dealers and stuff because maybe they're affiliated with politics somehow.
Yeah.
Maybe they support a candidate or something.
Or
right?
they know a guy who got arrested for drugs. Oh, he hung around him. He must be a
Right.
drug dealer.
Right. Ridiculous. People don't understand the law, and they're going out there. But in a case like this, and the person that doesn't understand the law is Brett Favre.
Yep.
And Brett Favre's trying to silence people by suing him, and he's getting slapped down left and right.
Yep.
So Brett Favre ruining his legacy. But his daughter's playing in a nice volleyball facility, though.
Maybe.
Is she even good?
Yeah.
I wonder if she's good.
What school? It was University of Mississippi, right?
No,
Or is it
I don't think
Mississippi
so.
State?
It was like a John. See if
No,
you can
it
find
was-
that.
it
It
was
was not
Just
a.
for a university that has money to build their own.
Oh, no. They
facility, or-
definitely had money to build their own, but...
Yeah. All
All
right,
right.
let's do some ads. Come back. John will tell us what school Favre's daughter went to,
Okay.
and we'll go on.
Cantrell and Cantrell, attorneys at law. When you're facing legal challenges and you don't know what to do, who are you going to call? Cantrell and Cantrell, attorneys at law. They're here to guide you through the legal process. Their dedicated team, including John and Chris and Cantrell, is in the court and at the jail every day, ready to fight for your rights. Call John Cantrell at 219-554-4LAW or visit their website at bettercallcantrell.com and discover how they can make a difference in your case.
Calumet Brewing, Busch Light, the coldest and smoothest light lager, is calling you to embrace the great outdoors, the roar of NASCAR, and the joy of cracking a cold one. Celebrate life's moments with Busch Light and then head over to Cal Brew on Facebook or Instagram for a chance to win a Busch Light Igloo Cooler. Visit Busch.com and their social media pages for exciting updates and events, and head to the mountains of Busch Light and enjoy beers and cheers responsibly.
Prestmer Insurance Company. For decades, Ron J. Prestmer Insurance Agency has been your trusted neighbor right on Indianapolis Boulevard, serving all your insurance needs. Their wide range of insurance products and services, including auto, home, business, and life insurance, has helped over 1,000 individuals and businesses throughout Chicagoland and the Midwest. Call Ron or Ronnie today at 219-844-0103. They're here to protect what matters most to you.
Byway Brewing is a family-friendly microbrewery, and they welcome you to their spacious taproom and their outdoor patio. Enjoy award-winning craft beer, a chef-driven menu, and craft draft cocktails. Their unique brewing equipment and production facility provides a perfect backdrop for private events, whether it's a bridal shower, a reunion, or a corporate party. With their new food truck, they can cater to your corporate and private events off-site. Customer service is our top priority at Byway Brewing. Just off 8094 at the Kennedy Avenue South exit. Discover more at bywaybrewing.beer.
This article,
Thank you to our sponsors, including our episode sponsor, Kuklakis Law.
We are reading an article about this.
Southern
right
Mississippi.
here. They said that it is reportedly the largest case of public fraud in Mississippi history.
Wow.
So they're saying this. So Nancy New was the
million
Community Education Center founder. It's saying that she misspent $77 million in welfare funds. I don't think it's just this.
No, there's multiple parts of it, right?
Yep.
Oh, so they're investigating a big case, and this is
the
part
Brett
of the bigger
Favre
case.
is like a small part of a very big problem.
And the text message said this.
Yeah, look at this.
If you were to pay me, is there any way the media can find out where it came from and how much? Favre asked New in a 2017 text message.
And by the way, it was about the University of Southern Mississippi.
But like that is
even
shady.
Ole Miss.
Like that's a I am a guilty text message.
It's not a good text message.
It's like I know what I'm doing. I know what I'm doing is wrong. And hopefully nobody will ever find this text message or what we did.
Well, I thought the crazy thing about that text message is he says, if you were to pay me, like it's not about if you were to donate the money to the University of Southern Mississippi.
Donate it to me and then I'll donate it
it's
to
weird,
the Brett
right?
Favre
Like
Center.
that's the thing that I got caught up on.
So, by the way, she disclosed these texts as part of her plea deal with the feds, but also Favre received $1.1 million to promote the program.
What a bunch
With
of
Favre
bullshit.
offering to record a few radio spots.
Wow.
He repaid the $1.1 million, including $600,000 for speeches he never gave.
Oh, that is shady.
Wow.
That's some bullshit,
He
man.
got himself tied up in something much bigger than
These are welfare funds.
Yes.
And he's like,
for a state of any state in the country that needs it.
right.
Seriously.
Mississippi. And this
Mississippi
super
needs
rich
that help.
NFL quarterback's inserting himself into the politics and getting millions of dollars of this money that could easily be used for food and shelter and using it so that his daughter can
Doesn't
play
pass
volleyball.
the smell test.
This is like a legacy ruiner. And I'm sure in Mississippi, Brett Favre is a pretty, it's like
He's an
favorite son.
influential guy.
yeah,
He's
like
a
if
favorite
Bob
son.
Knight walked into
Sure.
the State House, he's going to get some attention, right?
Absolutely.
Speaking of
If
which,
Brett Favre,
RIP.
if Brett Favre walks into the Mississippi State House, people are going to pay attention. He can get what he wants.
Yeah.
What an asshole, man.
Man, this is rough.
That's a tough sentence right
yeah,
there.
it is. It
man.
sure is, right,
Wow.
John?
He's an asshole if that's true, man.
Record a few radio spots.
His freaking legacy is ruined.
I'm going to give you $1.1 million to record a few radio spots, Tom.
Right.
Damn.
What the hell?
That's the dream, though, right?
Not that way.
Let's go.
Not
Let's
that
go.
way,
Not that
Lindsay.
way, yeah.
No, not this
that
way, but
Not where
like,
you're getting talked about on Lockpod.
No,
definitely
no.
That's the goal. I do not want to be talked about on Lockpod.
Take that, George
Those
Santos.
guys are brutal.
By the way, I do want to mention this. George Santos, Steve Kellogg reached out to his office to try to get an interview.
That's
We're
true.
We're on the list.
Yeah, good.
story.
Nice.
So.
We better hurry. He's not going to be around much longer. All right. Trump testifies in fraud trial.
This was something.
This is
you
your
know,
story.
Yeah. John, did you follow this at all? I'm just curious. Did you?
A little bit.
So, Trump has just been, in my opinion, just pretty funny regarding this whole trial. Like he comes out and gives these statements about how terrible it is, and the judge hates him, and the district court hates him, and this is no way he can get a fair trial, even though he asked for a bench trial, not a jury trial. And so yesterday's the big day, and he testifies, and he one of the things that I think was, at least what I saw in the media, and maybe I'm not watching the same channels that if you're conservative you're watching, but some of the things I saw was just like man, he seemed out of it and like word salad and like was just all over the place and didn't seem really. And maybe this is kind of like the counter Biden, right? President Biden, like they're trying to make him seem just as out of it as President Biden. But I saw a lot of that, and some of the back and forth was really interesting. Of course, this is the district attorney the Attorney General, New York Attorney General Letitia James, after his testimony. And here's what she had to say.
Today we heard from Donald Trump in our case against him, other defendants, and the Trump organization. He rambled, he hurled insults, but we expected that. At the end of the day, the documentary evidence demonstrated that, in fact, he falsely inflated his assets to basically enrich himself and his family. He continued to persistently engage in fraud. The numbers don't lie, and Mr. Trump obviously can engage in all of these distractions, and that exactly what he did, what he committed on the stand today, engaging in distractions and engaging in name calling. But I will not be bullied. I will not be harassed. This case will go on. We look forward to hearing the testimony of Ivanka Trump on Wednesday, and then we plan on closing our case. And then there will be some motions on Thursday, and then the defense will present their case in chief. Justice will prevail, and it's important that all of you understand that we have already been victorious in our motion for summary judgment, and now we look forward to disgorgement and to the remaining counts in our action against Donald Trump and his repeated and consistent fraud against the citizens of the great state of New York.
All right, Kevin,
strong statement.
Please explain what disgorgement is for the audience.
Yes, disgorgement means when a court orders that your assets be turned back and turned over, either to the state or to somebody who's been harmed as a result of the fraud. It happens a lot in the most common situation you hear about it is in bankruptcy cases, where a bankruptcy judge will order disgorgement of assets because you spent them maybe like after you filed for bankruptcy, which you got to be real careful about doing that, or take on debt after bankruptcy, things like that after you file. So that's where you hear it. It means taking your assets and taking them away from you. Yeah. Disgorgement. Yep. So that's a big deal. Another thing she said that I think our listening audience, if you don't understand maybe the process, the state of New York already won the liability, what's called like the fault side or liability side. They won on summary judgment that there was fraud. Now it's about damages. And so that's what they're focused on, like how much money is Donald Trump going to have to pay, or what is going to happen to his empire as a result of
for
what
just
the
New York
already.
Properties, though.
Yes, for New York and
so
his
Trump
operations
Tower,
in New York. He's got a lot of stuff in New York.
Westminster, like all these.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if it's in New Jersey, New York. Yeah, but whatever's New York assets, I guess, or that's where his companies are. So they could change the ownership of the companies. They could.
And Trump Tower is literally it's a skyscraper.
Yeah, there's
so
a lot of stuff
and
in
I'm
New York.
sure it's worth
a lot of money. Well, I don't know. It depends if you ask Trump or you.
Right, yeah. According to Trump, yeah.
Maybe it is worth $1 billion according to Trump. I don't know. But I thought this.
So, like, basically, what they're saying, Kevin, is so Trump, when he was talking to assessors are the ones that value your property for purposes of paying taxes.
Yep.
He would deflate the value of his property so that he would pay less taxes. And then when he would go to banks for loans on the property, he would give them a different set of numbers that was inflated so that he would be worth more and they'd be more likely to give him loans.
You got it. I mean, that's a very good summary of what's happening is like when it suited him, and this is kind of the prosecution's theory, like when it suited him, he would try to lower the values of the properties. And when it suited him, he would say they were worth more.
Right.
So you can't have it both ways, right? Like you can't go to
especially
the assessor and say...
Especially if they're markedly different.
Sure. I mean, right, absolutely. And there's nothing, by the way, there's nothing wrong with appealing to the assessor that your properties valued, should be valued less for taxes.
So if they say that Trump Tower is worth $1 billion for tax purposes, he can't go to the bankers and say Trump Tower is worth $15 billion.
Right, because think about it, banks always look at what security they have to secure their loans.
Right.
And if you're going to ask for a, let's say, $30 million loan, and you're saying that your properties are all worth $50 million, you're going to say, oh, the bank's going to say like, oh, I'm secured,
I'm covered,
I'm good.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Trump's argument is interesting because he's like, look, the banks all signed off on this. I'm not just the judge and jury of what the bank decides. The bank decides whether or not I have an adequate security. They have their own loan departments. But they can go back and say
they already said he's liable, though.
Well, the court has already found him liable. The question is,
so that doesn't matter anymore.
It may not, and maybe that's part of the reason the judge kind of, there was a couple times yesterday where the judge was like, answer the question.
We're not talking about liability anymore. We're talking about damages.
Right. For example, as testimony centered on the valuation of Trump's golf course in Scotland, Trump began touting Aberdeen as an oil capital, making the property more valuable. Judge Engoron spoke over Trump. Irrelevant, answer the question.
Right.
So that goes exactly what you were saying.
It doesn't matter in Scotland.
Well, no, or just the valuation. Like you said, they've already found fraud. It's just about, let's talk about your property.
But why would he talk about properties in Scotland?
I don't know.
In a New York fraud trial.
Well, it may be because
he's leveraging that with bank loans.
It could be, yes.
Gotcha.
Yeah, you can.
He's going to New York, leveraging properties in Scotland for loans that emanate in New York.
Yeah, you don't have to necessarily secure your properties within the state you're getting the loan, right? You could secure them in properties all over the place.
Makes sense.
And the other thing he said that he said this about the judge. He said, Judge Engoron will rule against me because he will always rule against me. And the judge pushed back, saying that isn't true, and asked Trump to answer the actual question. You can attack me all you want, but just answer the question. So he was kind of off the rails. Trump posted this interesting tweet on Truth Social.
Which, by the way,
if anybody goes on Truth Social,
I've never been on Truth Social one moment in my life. But this is a violation of the gag order. It says it's a picture of the judge that's hearing his case, and Trump's under a gag order, and it says this is allegedly what the judge Arthur Engoron says. And it's in quotations with a picture of the judge. It says, "No, I'm not here to hear what President Trump has to say." In quotations,
right? And I think, and so the whole thing on social media was he took that out of context. And John, if you could scroll up a little bit, I want to read what this person who tweeted this said. He's mischaracterizing this. The judge said he wasn't there to listen to Trump make political speeches, that he was there to listen to his testimony that answered the specific questions that were asked. He lies about everything. Well, that was just this guy's opinion. But the point I think that's interesting here, and for those that may not see themselves in a courtroom all the time, is that this is not unusual behavior by a judge to have to focus a witness on the question at hand. So, for people out there that are saying, oh, man, he's picking on judges. I've heard judges yell at a witness to get their attention to focus on questions. It is not unusual.
I was yelled at by judges in court. I remember Judge Lozano undressed me in front of the whole freaking courtroom for reading a newspaper.
Metaphorically, not physically.
Dude, scared the shit out of me. I was a brand new lawyer. He scared the crap out of me.
Yep.
And I never did that again. I was in the audience just like reading a newspaper, just quietly. I wasn't making noise or anything. And he, in front of a packed courtroom, just dressed me down.
Yeah. And I think so. I guess the point here is that don't think that this judge, whether or not you believe the judge is fair or unfair, the fact that the judge tells a witness you need to answer the question is very common, because witnesses will go out on tangent. They'll try to explain something away and answer the question. Sometimes the lawyer has to say, Judge, could you please instruct the witness to answer this question?
Gotcha.
So I think that's common. Yeah. So all very interesting. It's all going to come down to see how much disgorgement is going to happen.
I like that
word. What happens with the fraud trial. I like the word. I just don't ever want it happening to me. I don't want to ever have somebody say, Kevin, you need to disgorge your assets.
Because disgorgement means
no fun.
Yeah, bad things happen to you. All right, so I want to again remind everybody today's election day where we live, and it's a good chance it's election day where you live also. Today we're voting for our municipal officials in Indiana. So wherever you are, if it is your election day, get out and vote. Do be part of the process. Don't be that person that bitches on social media and doesn't actually vote, okay? Just don't. And then we got an outtake we're going to do. Congresswoman MTG.
Oh, one of our faves.
Marjorie Taylor Greene confesses on her way out. She's confessing about her own party's failures. And you don't hear this very often. So we're going to go ahead, and I want to say thanks, Lindsay. It's good to see you. Don't forget to vote, Lindsay.
Peace out.
Have you voted already? Don't forget to vote.
Okay.
Jay Vaz.
I
don't
won't
forget
forget.
to vote.
Nope.
Jay Vaz.
John's a voter.
Kevin Smith. I know Kevin Smith voted
early.
Probably 3.5 weeks ago.
A couple weeks ago.
Yes. And then
just like you did, I'm sure.
I voted last week. So thanks. Don't forget to vote. Love you guys. Go America. And on the way out, we're going to listen to MTG talk about Congress's failure. So thanks everybody for listening to Lockpod. We'll be back on Friday as usual. This was season 10, episode 18. It was brought to you by
something.
Kuklakis Law.
Kuklakis Law.
Why are you making me say that?
Because anyway, thanks Kuklakis Law, and thanks for listening. Lockpod is out. Take care, everybody.
Republican voters across the country are sick and tired of Republicans because they never do anything to hold this government accountable. Republicans go out on the campaign trail and go on TV and do their 5-minute hearing videos and post up on social media and say all this garbage about how they're going to fight it and stop it. I feel like many of the American people that think that Republicans in Congress completely fail them. I feel the same way, and I'm a